If you could peel back your skin and look inside your belly, you'd see two very different types of fat. One is the pinchable layer just under your skin, annoying but mostly harmless. The other is the fat you can't grab. It wraps around your organs like bubble wrap, pressing on your liver, squeezing your pancreas, and even pushing your stomach forward. This is visceral fat, and it's far more dangerous than the fat you see in the mirror. It doesn't just make your waistline bigger, it pumps toxic compounds into your blood, raises your risk for diabetes, and makes heart disease more likely. The good news is that visceral fat is also the kind that responds the fastest when you change your habits. So I want to walk you through 10 proven ways to shrink it quickly based on science-backed methods that actually work. The first thing you need to do is stop obsessing over the bathroom scale and start tracking your waist. The scale can be tricky because it doesn't tell you whether you lost the weight from water, muscle, or fat. And if you're not tracking properly, you have no idea if you actually are making progress with eliminating this very dangerous type of fat. You could step on the scale and see a pound down, but if that pound came from lean muscle, you didn't really make progress in regard to belly fat. A far better measure of progress is your waist circumference, especially when you compare it to your height. Research shows that a waist-to-height ratio over 0.5 is strongly linked to health risks associated with visceral fat. That means if you're 70 inches tall or 5'10", your waist should ideally be under 35 inches. A simple tape measure tells you what the scale can't, and that's whether the dangerous fat inside your belly is shrinking or not. If every couple weeks that number moves down, you know you're heading in the right direction. But, for example, doing a ton of cardio without lifting weights can make you lose muscle, which will look like weight loss on the scale, but all that belly fat is still there. And that brings us straight to step 2, which is resistance training. Most people picture endless cardio sessions when they think about losing their belly fat, but lifting weights actually attacks the root cause. Visceral fat thrives when your insulin sensitivity is poor. When your muscles resist insulin, glucose floats around in your blood until your liver finally turns it into fat, and that fat is very often stored around your belly. But every time you contract your muscles against resistance, whether that's with dumbbells, barbells, machines, or just your body weight, you increase the number of glucose transporters in your muscle cells. These are like doors that open up and let glucose in, making your muscles soak up carbs like a sponge. That glucose goes into fueling and repairing your muscles instead of getting stashed as fat around your organs. And the benefits go even deeper. Lifting weights increases lean muscle mass, which itself raises your daily energy burn. A pound of muscle isn't going to burn thousands of calories, but over months and years, more lean mass means a faster metabolism. Studies consistently show that just 2 or 3 resistance training sessions a week can significantly reduce visceral fat, even if your overall weight doesn't change much. Cardio burns calories while you're doing it, but resistance training changes the way your body partitions calories after the workout. In other words, you're teaching your body to store energy in the right places. Every rep you do is like telling your metabolism, feed the muscles, not the belly. Next, if you're looking for the fastest lever you can pull, cut liquid calories first. Sugary drinks, fruit juice, energy drinks, and alcohol are some of the biggest reasons for visceral fat gain. They deliver a huge load of sugar or empty calories in seconds with no fiber to slow things down. That means your blood sugar spikes, insulin floods in, and your liver has no choice but to convert the overflow into fat. And here's the kicker, visceral fat is the prime storage depot. Your body loves to store all that fat in your center of mass for future use in case of something like a famine in the future. Alcohol makes this worse because your liver has to prioritize metabolizing the alcohol itself, which pushes everything else you ate towards fat storage. The fix is simple but powerful. Swap soda or juice for sparkling water with lemon. Replace sweetened coffee drinks with black coffee or coffee with just a splash of cream or milk. Cut back on beer and cocktails and go for lower calorie options like a calorie-free mixed drink with a shot of vodka, and only do this occasionally. Dropping just 120-ounce soda per day cuts 240 calories. Over the course of a month, that's more than 7,000 calories or about 2 pounds of fat, and a large portion of it will come straight from your belly. Another underrated but incredibly effective tactic is walking after meals. Think of this as intercepting calories before they ever get stored as fat. When you walk after eating, your muscles act like sponges, soaking up glucose from your bloodstream. Even 10 minutes is enough to dramatically reduce post-meal blood sugar and insulin spikes. In fact, studies show that 3 10-minute walks after meals control blood sugar better than one big 30-minute walk earlier in the day. This matters because visceral fat accumulation is strongly tied to repeated high spikes of glucose and insulin. Blunt the spikes and you reduce the signal for your body to store fat in your belly. This doesn't have to be a power walk. Even a slow stroll after dinner, walking around the block or on a treadmill, does the trick. Over time, those little post-meal walks add up to hundreds of extra calories burned, steadier energy for your body, and less fat storage. It's one of the simplest things you can do. No equipment, no cost, no learning curve, yet the payoff is huge. And of course, your diet plays a major role. You're not going to walk off a bunch of Oreos, even though the walk will still provide benefits. But that's why another one of the most powerful levers is prioritizing protein. Protein isn't just for building muscle, it's actually also essential if you want to lose visceral fat while preserving muscle. When you're in a calorie deficit, your body will use both fat and muscle for energy unless you give it a reason to spare that muscle. Protein is that reason. Multiple studies show that higher protein diets lead to greater fat loss and less muscle loss compared to low protein diets. Protein also has unique advantages. It blunts hunger hormones like ghrelin, boosts satiety hormones like GLP-1, peptide YY, and has the highest thermic effect of food, meaning you burn more calories digesting it compared to carbs or fats. A good target is about 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day. That might look like eggs at breakfast, chicken breast or beans at lunch, Greek yogurt or a shake as a snack, and fish or tofu at dinner. You don't have to be perfect, but making sure protein is present in every meal tilts the odds heavily in your favor. Next, let's tackle late night eating. Carbs at night aren't magically fattening. What really matters is the total calories and nutrients you eat over the day. But here's the catch. Insulin sensitivity does tend to be lower in the evening, and even more importantly, nighttime is when most people slip up. After a long day, willpower is drained, and that's when the chips, cookies, and drinks come out. It's not the clock that's the problem, it's the habits. It's the association of enjoying a snack every time you play your favorite TV show, video game, or movie. Those extra evening calories often push you into surplus territory, and those surplus calories go straight to fat. So instead of banning food at night, the smarter move is to be mindful of what you eat and how much. If you're hungry, go for protein-rich foods like cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, or even a simple shake. Or maybe you even have a full meal with salmon or chicken, or you stick to high-protein snacks like beef jerky. These keep you full without creating a huge calorie impact. If you want something crunchy, raw veggies or butterless popcorn can work since it's filling and low in calories. The rule isn't never eat at night, it's don't let late night eating turn into uncontrolled snacking, where you're stuffing your face with you don't even know what while falling asleep. Let's move on to cardio, which still has its place, but if your goal is to lose visceral fat fast, intervals are where you'll get the biggest bang for your buck. High intensity interval training, or HIIT, consistently outperforms steady state cardio when it comes to shrinking belly fat. The reason is that intervals combine short bursts of near max effort with recovery periods, forcing your body to adapt in ways steady state cardio doesn't. You stress both your aerobic and anaerobic systems, improving mitochondrial function and boosting insulin sensitivity. A classic beginner protocol is 30 seconds hard, 90 seconds easy, repeated 8 to 10 times. That can be done on a bike, a rower, sprinting, jump rope, or even bodyweight moves like burpees. It's intense, but it's short. As you get more advanced, you can do 60 seconds on, 60 seconds off. You don't have to eliminate steady state cardio completely. Long walks, hikes, or jogs are great for overall calorie burning activities as long as they're not done in excess where they begin to interfere with your weight training. But adding 2 or 3 interval sessions per week can accelerate belly fat loss significantly. Fasting is another tool worth mentioning. Intermittent fasting isn't magic, but it can help reduce visceral fat when used strategically. The main advantage isn't that fasting changes your hormones in some magical way, though it does improve insulin sensitivity and increases fat oxidation, but the real benefit is that it reduces your eating window. Fewer eating opportunities usually means fewer overall calories. Even a simple 12 to 16 hour overnight fast can be effective. For some people, skipping breakfast is easiest. For others, setting a firm cutoff later in the day around dinner is even better. Research shows intermittent fasting can reduce visceral fat more effectively than continuous calorie restriction, even when total calories are the same. That said, it's not for everyone. Some feel really good with it. Meanwhile, others end up feeling unwell and binging later in the day. The key is to use it as a framework that helps you control calories without feeling restricted. Another overlooked factor is inflammation. Visceral fat isn't just sitting there. It's biologically active, releasing inflammatory chemicals called cytokines into your bloodstream. These chemicals create a vicious cycle where inflammation drives more fat storage, especially in the belly, and the fat itself produces even more inflammation. Breaking that cycle requires lowering inflammation through your diet. That means cutting down on ultra-processed foods, refined seed oils like soybean or corn oil, and excess sugar. On the flip side, adding anti-inflammatory foods can also play a smaller but still important impact. Omega-3 fats from salmon, sardines, chia seeds, and flax help regulate inflammation. Polyphenols from berries, olive oil, green tea, and even dark chocolate reduce oxidative stress. Cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, and kale support detoxification pathways in the liver. You don't need a perfect diet, but shifting from processed junk towards whole, nutrient-rich foods lowers inflammation, which makes it easier to mobilize and burn visceral fat. And finally, we circle back to where so much of this begins: stress and sleep. Visceral fat is extremely sensitive to cortisol, the stress hormone. When cortisol stays elevated from poor sleep, constant late-night scrolling, or too much caffeine, your body shifts into fat storage mode, especially around your abdominal region. That's why people who are chronically stressed often carry more weight around the waist. Building a consistent sleep routine is one of the most underrated fat loss tools you can use. Dimming the lights in the evening, shutting off screens an hour before bed, keeping your room cool and dark, and aiming for 7 to 9 hours of sleep resets your cortisol rhythm. Studies show that dieters who sleep well don't just lose more weight, they lose more fat and preserve more muscle compared to those who are sleep deprived. Bottom line is, when you sleep, your hormones are primed for fat loss. When you don't, they're mostly primed for muscle loss. So that about wraps it up. I really hope this video helps you start making the changes that you know you need to make sure that you get rid of that belly fat. If you want extra support and a done-for-you plan that helps motivate you mentally as much as it physically provides for you with a meal plan, a workout plan, and a coach, check out my free 6-week shred. As long as you follow through and stick to the plan, not only will you get rid of that belly fat for free, but you'll also learn what you have to do to sustainably keep it off for good. To find out more, click the link below in the description, or you can head straight on over to my website at gravitytransformation.com. I'll see you guys soon.